Supernatural Season 13 premiere, Lost and Found. So of course this premiere starts up where the last season left off, which was one of the craziest season finales for sure, with just people either just being killed off or just vanishing into some crazy alternate dimension, which we get a small glimpse of. I'm assuming we'll get more exploration out of that as the season continues onward, but definitely an interesting first episode going into it. It was kind of a calm start. It wasn't like anything insanely epic, which most premieres are typically just like, here's the crazy finale, here's the calming aftermath, which is still pretty crazy because it normally is just like a crazy issue, and then some characters resurrected. It's supernatural, so typically this crazy disaster and then resurrection somewhere, some way, shape, or form. And this wasn't really one of those moments. It was just Sam and Dean stuck. They're dealing with the son of the devil, who is officially just, it's Jack now. And they did a cool job explaining why he's an adult, because that was a huge question. Like, why did he suddenly, like he's born and it was like, okay, it's going to be this kid. How is this going to play out with time skips and stuff like that? And it's just like, don't have to worry about any of that crap. He comes out, boom, teenager, and it's all said and done. But they give a really great explanation for that, and it's because of the stuff that Kelly said in the last season, where it's like, Castiel is, Cass is going to be the one to look out for you, and you need to grow up fast in this world. And so that's why he's looking for Cass when things kick off, which was a pretty cool reveal. And I thought that was pretty interesting because they, of course, he's just saying father in the beginning, and of course we assume he's talking about the devil. But it does make a lot of sense that he would be talking about Cass because of not only the stuff that Kelly said, but simply the fact that Cass was actually the one that was there while Lucifer was, being Lucifer and kind of going around and doing other random stuff or being held prisoner and things like that. So it was very interesting. It's like, oh, well, that's a cool little reveal where he's actually looking for Cass, who he believes is really his father. So I thought that was actually very cool. But the way this episode played out, I thought was nice. It was very simple. It was the small town sort of thing, and it was really just like, it really was just such a soft opening to this season, because it was like, okay, we know things are insane. People are either dead or missing in another dimension. So what has to happen? And basically it's Sam and Dean figuring out what in the world to do with the son of the devil. He has these insane powers. So far his unique ability seems to be like this weird scream that he does in the beginning, and he does it a second time to the sheriff of the town that they're in. But that was cool. Visually I thought it was sweet because you can see like this force field kind of moving out, and basically Sam and Dean, Dean comes in, and I was glad they talked about this because as soon as it happened, Dean comes in, everything's super calm, and he's just like, oh, and he's about to pull the trigger, and that, gets them both knocked out. And so they have that conversation. They kind of make note of all the stuff that happens in this episode. But the power that Jack used, I thought was really cool, and then being like held up in the air, and they have enough time to look at each other, and you can see it's almost like a force field that has them wrapped up, and then there's other stuff already being pushed. So it's like a weird sense of control from Jack. So I thought that was definitely awesome. Then of course they get knocked out, and he walks. So we do find out he may or may not have wings. I don't remember if they've ever truly talked about that element before with Nephilim, if they can or cannot fly. But in this episode, at least, he's walking, so he might, honestly might just not have control over that ability just yet. But he takes off. They wake up. They end up, oddly enough, following perfectly along his trail, because Sam's like, well, main road, if he happened to, walk down the main road, he might end up here. So that actually ended up being perfect for them, and Sam was right. So they go in, and as this happens, they end up running into, seemingly, this random drunk girl. And she, of course, turns out to be an angel. I knew something was going to happen with her. I was like, there's a reason that this character is here. Like, there's some relevance to this character. There's something 100% going on with this character. So I thought that was cool. And another great thing that they did, which they did a callback to, was when this character, when she was talking to Dean, and she was talking about, like, oh, my roommate Becky and how she would destroy things. It was really funny because I was like, man, that sounds like we've heard people say that about Dean before. And I thought that was really funny. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't think they're going to make that connection, but it's just like, if you watch the show, it's like, that's funny. I kind of connect that to Dean. And then later when she comes back, it's like, that, Becky is you. Like, you are the person that takes things and destroys them regardless of the situation. And I was like, oh, that was meant to sound exactly like Dean because she was actually talking about him. So I really love the writing in this. They kind of answered all the, well, not every question, of course, but, why is Jack, full grown instead of just like this baby and stuff? So they answered that question. Why he's looking for Cass, kind of wrapped up in the same thing. And I just thought it was really cool. Excuse me. And I'm excited to see where they go with this. I mean, I figured this was going to be the season with Sam and Dean basically, being like step parents to, the son of the devil, which is crazy. But I was like, that has to be what they're doing. Because, of course, this kid does ultimately come out of things not really knowing how to be good or be evil. And so they have to find a way to kind of send him down the right path. And, of course, they do the normal thing. Sam is the hopeful one, Dean is not, and I think this is one of the couple of situations where I'm just like, yeah, I definitely get it. He's in one of the worst moments that they've actually been in, having lost so many people. But, that's kind of always their path, but this time it was one of those things where it's like, normally it's like, oh, he's just being pessimistic and stuff, and this time it's like, the world is being pessimistic to Dean Winchester, so I kind of get it this time, but it was cool. Things are, kind of some of the same, some crazy different stuff, obviously the son of the devil. So I'm definitely excited to see where we go with that, and what goes on with Jack, what in the world is going to be happening with Cass. I know he's coming back in some regard. I just don't know exactly what that means. So I am looking forward to seeing how all that stuff plays out. And ultimately they go through this episode. We have our monster of the week is of course our new, who knows how long they're going to have Jack in this series, but our new centerline supernatural being for this season. And it was cool, him learning the world and him not coming out of it like instantaneously evil. But of course we do get to see a couple of his powers. We see like the crazy telekinetic thing that he's got. He's got like some weird electricity powers where all he did was like control the machines. So it's like he can talk to machines. He's got the telekinetic thing. He can hear angel radio, which makes sense because he's half angel. He's somewhat affected by the spell that Sam cast. I would assume that that's what that was. I couldn't tell if he was no longer affected by what the angel did to him, or if he was somewhat affected by the spell that Sam had cast to get rid of the other two angels. So I'm not 100% sure, but I was assuming that them showing like the veins and stuff, I figured that was him fighting off being like cast away from that spell because he is half angel. So I was like, okay, maybe that's what that was. But it's like it's kind of a toss-up because it totally could have been the fact that he was no longer affected because the angel, like, his eyes glowed for a quick second and then Jack was down for the count. So I couldn't tell if that was him getting over that or if it was the spell having like half an effect on him because of the half angel, half or half demon. Or, same thing. I mean, it's Lucifer's son, so it's technically the same thing. Demon, angel, human hybrid deal. But it was definitely cool. He cannot be killed by an angel blade. Makes sense. Lucifer's whole deal not being able to be killed by certain things, it just makes sense that his son wouldn't be able to be killed off, by angel blades, which are so common. And I guess that would be a part of the, human element of him. Although he was stabbed, just different, the best parts of, every element within him kind of came together and be like, nothing. So far, there's really no way that we know of to kill him. Obviously, if he can't be killed by an angel blade, he can't naturally be shot in the head or anything, very simple like that, which I think we already knew that was the case. But it should be interesting to see how this plays out. He should develop some more powers as time goes on, possibly, the whole flying deal. So I'm definitely looking forward to what they do with the character. Like I said, this episode I really enjoyed. It was very simple, but they did some good stuff with it. Of course, we have the emotional elements that's, just permeating the whole thing. And Sam, being the optimistic one of the two, he was kind of focusing more on the mission in this episode and being like, okay, we don't know if Mom's officially dead. Maybe this can happen with Cass. We've seen him survive being stabbed with an angel blade. Maybe he can resurrect Cass, which it was kind of funny. The angel who was kind of taunting them, where she was like, oh, he can't bring Cass back, like he can do anything, and he's like, oh, it's so optimistic or whatever, it's like almost anything, and Dean got upset again. But she also thought that he could be killed by an angel blade, so she didn't know that. So who knows, he probably could easily resurrect Cass, and it's just all said and done there. But I really love the way they fully brought out the emotion, especially with Dean, where that's Dean's thing. Like, Sam will kind of pace it out so he doesn't have those like super emotional moments outside of some of the most dramatic moments in the series. And for Dean, it's just like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, and then that one big emotional moment. And this time he kind of had two. That we have the flashback to what he did to actually mess his hand up. And he went behind the fast food joint when Sam went in there, and he was praying to God. And I thought that was definitely a cool scene. And then they have the ending moment where he looks at Cass's body, and then he takes like the curtains off the wall to wrap his body up because they're going to give him a hunter's burial. So I thought that was great. That was definitely a great way to end off the episode, and it's just like a nice emotional moment. And then of course we get the other part of this season, which is going to be whatever's going on in this alternate dimension. We have like our single female hunter just doing her thing, trying to survive, and unfortunately you got the devil as well. And of course, you have our trio of Winchesters at this point, and they really don't know exactly how things are playing out, but I cannot wait to see what they do in this alternate dimension. Of course, the devil's doing his thing. I thought it was just going to be torture, because that seems like the devil, but it seems like he already has some weird idea, and for some reason he's like, well, you're here, I'm here, maybe we can team up, or maybe I will use you to find my way out of here. So I don't exactly know what that means, but we are going to get some more of this alternate dimension. I would assume that means we're going to get some more of the Tempter Demons, which were introduced in the season finale last season. So looking forward to that for sure. But this should be an interesting season, without a doubt. So can't wait to see what they do with it. We're already getting another character back. I can't remember that character's name or who, or like what he did in any regard, to be totally honest. I saw his face. It was the older guy. And I was like, oh, I remember him. Can't remember a single thing that he did because I just suck at that. But I was like, I definitely remember his face. Can't remember his name or any purpose. I feel like he had something to do with more books, more writing stuff. I feel that way. But I was just like, I definitely recognize his face. That's all I got. So we're going to at least see a familiar character come in, just in the second episode of this season. But ultimately, I'm looking forward to this one. I really love this premiere. Like I said, very subtle, but they did a lot of great stuff with it. It was like a simple introduction, and then just the natural, the continuation of Sam and Dean and their emotions, and either accepting them or denying them, and then being forced to confront them ultimately by the end of this episode. But enjoyed it. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about the premiere, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it, and naturally, I would love to know your theories for this season. What you guys want to see in general for this season, I would love to know that as well, because there is a lot to look forward to. I think we have the devil in this alternate dimension. Like, the devil and Mary, that's one thing, but the alternate dimension as a whole is, like, that's just a story within itself. So that's like two great things kind of just wrapped into one. Of course, you have Lucifer's son, and then whatever other random issues we're going to have. Of course, I'm sure we're going to get recurring storylines coming back into play, as we always do. Something that happened last season will pop in here. Maybe Jack will be a part of that, maybe he won't. But I'm excited to see how this implementation of this wild card character really changes up the show. So I'm really looking forward to that. But like I said, we'll love to know your theories for this season, and just what you guys want to see, and of course what you guys thought about this premiere in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.